Well, hi everybody. My name is Luke Jackson, and welcome to the conversation. I'm here with some really amazing people, Jamie and Stephanie Henderson. So, guys, thanks for being here. This is awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
So I know that I actually met you in Thailand, but tell us where you are right now, because you have a beanie on, Stephanie. So I'm assuming it's not Thailand.
Not Thailand. No, we are from northeastern Indiana, and so right now we're home visiting our family for Christmas.
That's awesome. So how long have you been home for?
About 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's so good. So I thought maybe what we could do is, why don't you guys just tell us a little bit of like where you come from, maybe how you grew up, just some of your stories so folks could get to know you a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I was born in California, actually born in Santa Monica, but then I was raised in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And my dad is from England, my mom is from New York State, and they happened to meet in California, and then they went their separate ways, and we ended up in Indiana somehow. So it was kind of wild how all that came together.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so Indiana has been the better part of my life.
Okay. What about for you, Stephanie?
I am a small town girl from Indiana as well. Grew up out in the middle of farmland, not on a farm, but surrounded by farms. And small family, kind of your typical American family. We got 2 kids. I have 1 brother. My parents are Christians. I grew up in a Christian home, went to a Christian school my whole growing up. And yeah, that's pretty much my origin story.
That's it, huh?
Nothing crazy.
Now, Jamie, for you, did you grow up like Stephanie said, Christian home for her? Was that your upbringing as well, or no?
So I always knew who Jesus was, but we didn't really focus on him so much. My grandmother was sort of the matriarch of our faith in our family.
Okay.
And she was pretty much the only one who continued going to church, and then eventually the rest of the family followed suit, and we all started going as well.
Okay.
And Christians later on because of her. But when I was, probably 14, 15 years old, I was at a summer camp, and I really made the real decision to follow Jesus for real. And since then, it's been a meaningful journey in learning who he is and following who he is. And So I can't say it's been the whole time, but yes, Jesus has definitely been in and around the family the whole time. So
now, for Jamie, for you from that high school kind of age, and Stephanie, for you growing up in it, were you in similar church kind of cultures? Did you come from very similar church backgrounds, or kind of different church situations?
Weirdly enough, that summer camp I was talking about was actually the same one that she went to. We just didn't know each other at the time.
That's
we would go out
Oh,
at the
no
same
way.
time.
Okay.
Yeah. And I guess I can't say. So the church that my grandmother went to, for basically her whole life, was a large Church of Christ church.
Okay.
And so, I mean, I believe that's non-denominational. I guess I don't really know for sure.
Yeah. No, that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But that was how I got that's how I got my introduction into it. And then eventually I started going to another church that was Church of Christ, but it was a lot smaller. It was a very small church compared to the one that my grandmother went to.
Okay.
So I guess that being the difference was she went to this church that had probably 1,000 people on any given Sunday.
Okay.
And then I went to this tiny church growing up. Yeah. Because they needed help, worship team and things like that. And I don't know, it was just something about all my high school friends went there and all that stuff. So it was fun. And then but it was quite small comparatively.
So for go ahead.
I was going to say, just kind of same, I guess, for me too, because when I was a kid, the church we went to had 30 people, out in the middle of the cornfields. Yeah. And then when I was a teenager, one of my friends in high school, his dad started a church, and so I started going to church there to help be on the worship team for their new church plant. And then that was definitely a different church experience. But really helped me get really grounded in the local church as a teenager. Just because I had more ownership in it. I had something I was contributing, and
So one of the things I would love to hear. So obviously we'll kind of get to where you are, where you're serving full time in just a moment. But what was the process like for each of you, kind of discerning the Lord's call to do what you're doing now? Did it start for you in similar places? Was it really different for both of you as far as kind of your heart being gripped for the nations? I'd love just to hear kind of how that journey was for each of you.
So when I was, when I first made the choice to follow Jesus, when I was 14, 15, however old I was, I really felt like God was calling me into youth ministry.
Okay.
And I even did some internship with my youth pastor and like really pursued that in a lot of different ways. But I was still in high school at the time, so that was a big, like, I got to finish high school first, decide where I would go to college or whatever. And it just ended up working out that, life changed a lot right after high school. A lot of the people that were in my life for a really long time ended up exiting. And then that church that I was going to I wasn't particularly welcome at that church anymore because of something that I did. So I actually kind of left that church, and I left all those friends behind, and I started a completely new life, which is actually how I ended up meeting Stephanie through a new group of friends and everything. A good friend of mine actually used to go to my school, and then he left that school, ended up going to hers, and then we started a band, and she was running the show venue that our band was playing at.
Got it.
And all this stuff, and it's just wild how it all happened. But getting back to the question, I was always sold on the idea that I'm Christian and I believe in Jesus and that I want to serve him in ministry. But originally, like I said, I thought I was going to be in youth ministry or some sort of pastoral ministry or whatever. But I would say that in my last year of high school, we had like a career day, and there was a family. There were these two girls who were probably a couple grades lower than me.
Okay.
And their parents were missionaries in, I want to say, Pakistan. And they were there on that career day talking about being missionaries. And I think I was literally the only one at their like little table. Yeah. And I was like really interested in it. And I to be honest, I never had really given it much thought before that moment. And even after that, I hadn't really given it much thought. But I was genuinely interested in it. And after Steph and I met, this is kind of an origin story for the two of us. But the week that we started dating, I asked her to come to this worship night with me that I happened to be playing at. And the people that were sort of emceeing that night were talking about child sex trafficking in Thailand. And both of us, like, even though we were just a week into our relationship, God really broke our hearts for what was going on. And we both really felt like if this relationship works out, like if we get married, we need to go do this. And honestly, that's how it all started for us in a lot of ways.
Yeah, which is kind of funny because that, like, all of that was not on my radar at all. No. Like, for me, like, I was so content to just, like, live in Indiana. I mean, Indiana's nice. People give us crap for it, but it's great. I love it. But, like, I even, like, when I was in high school, I finished high school 2 years early with plans to go to college so I could just get my life going. And so I finished high school when I was 16 and then started college, and I actually got a degree in baking and pastry arts because I was like, I can be a pastry chef, and that'll be great. I'll be a pastry chef here in Fort Wayne, and it's going to be great. I'm going to live in Indiana. Like, I'll still go to church and, like, help out at my church. And I wanted to do ministry things, but I never had, like, that global perspective, and especially not Asia. But yeah, it was just kind of crazy how God worked it out, though, because, like Jamie said, we went that first night and we both were just like, wow. And the organization was talking about wanting to have a cafe to teach, like, baking and, like, restaurant work. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I could do that. Like, that's what my degree's in. And then they were talking about wanting to do a hair salon, and Jamie wasn't a barber at the time, but really wanted to do hair. And we were both like, oh my gosh, like, we should go do this. Like, this is crazy, because we've only known each other for a little bit of time, but, like, we keep doing this. We should go do that together. And, God just really planted a seed that night. And as we kept dating and we kept hearing more and more about Thailand, and God just put it more and more on our hearts that that's what he wanted us to do. And originally, it's actually kind of funny. We're both more Europe people than Asia people. And we had gone to visit Jamie's family in England for Christmas one year, and we both were just like, we could totally live in England. This would be so great. And we're like, what if we started doing fundraising for these organizations in England? Like, that'd be so cool. And that was, like, our original thought. We thought, we'll get married, we're going to move to England, we'll do fundraising. But we just really felt God speak to our hearts that like, no, if you're going to do this work, you need to like go do it. So you know what you're talking about. And so that's when we moved over to Thailand. And we went originally thinking we were going to be there for a year. And that was almost 7 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. So now you're still there.
Yeah. And the journey has definitely changed, but it's all been about the same ministry and the same area. Yeah, for sure. And it's just kind of interesting how, for me, like I had no clue. That's how I'm like, it's God, because I hate being hot. I don't really like tropical stuff. I don't like the beach. Yeah. Like this is Jesus calling me here, because I wouldn't have chosen to live here myself.
I agree with all of that.
Yeah. So in that process, you're already then in Thailand. So how did you then get connected with, Jamie, you got your Shear Love hat on. How did you get connected with Shear Love International? Because part of what I was excited just to chat with you, because I know, some folks that be listening, even hearing the words like sex trafficking might be kind of new language. So how did you get connected with Shear Love? And then I'd love to, maybe we can hear a little more about what's going on there and what God's doing.
So originally we worked with an organization called Destiny Rescue. Okay. And they worked specifically with children coming out of, they did a lot of prevention work, which looks a lot like going out to the villages in Thailand and the different countries that they worked in, and looking for children that were at risk and things like that. And that was where Stephanie was doing vocational training with the girls in the cafe setting. So baking, hospitality, and things like that. And at that time, I was doing more like team trip leading. So, churches that were interested in supporting or were already supporting would come over, and I'd lead them all over the place to show them all the different projects and stuff like that. Okay. And through that, we ended up in 2015 or 16. Thailand had its most 2013 had its most recent military coup, and we actually lost our positions with that place because the military came in. They replaced the person in the labor department that we had a good relationship. Got it. And so then they were not granting work permits to anyone, or any foreigners basically. And so we lost our positions with them. Ended up applying to another place that a friend of ours from this same organization suggested, and we heard back from them like right away. So we were like, oh wow, clearly we're not supposed to leave Thailand yet. Like this is happening really quick. And
we moved then down south to Pattaya, which we started working with another organization, and that's how we met Diana. After we'd been there about a year and a half, she moved over with the intention of starting Shear Love. And we just loved her mission too. And we're like, this is amazing. Like, we're going to help you. Like this, we're so on board with this. And so we were there to help her get everything set up in the country, help her get the first class of students going. But then we did end up moving back to the U.S. for a little bit so Jamie could go to school, because we were like, this is the perfect time. Like, there's such a need for men in Pattaya to have vocational training too for barbers, and Jamie, that had been his dream for like 5 or 6 years already at that point, that we just like hadn't been able to come to realization yet. And so we went back to the US for like a year and a half so he could go to school, and then popped right back on over to Thailand, and we've been there since then.
So for folks that don't know Shear Love International, what is it that you guys are a part of? Like you just mentioned Jamie went to barber school, and so what is Shear Love? What's kind of the focus of the ministry you guys are a part of?
Well, Shear Love is a project under our umbrella parent organization, Free Reign. And Free Reign is like, our main goal is to equip people who fight against trafficking and to empower people who have been survivors of trafficking or injustice and abuse in general. We want world peace and all that, that good stuff.
The good stuff,
so Shear Love is a vocational program under Free Reign. It's a beauty and barber training school, a vocational training, but we're also like all holistic care. We do mental health care, physical health care. We do language classes, personal development, personal finance, like job skills, just different life skills that a lot of people take for granted. But when you've grown up in poverty and been forced into the lifestyle that most of our students have been, you don't always learn all those things along the way. So we try to provide a really holistic care. Of course, we're all Christians, so it's faith-based as well. And we do a time of Bible study every day with our students, as well as a church a church day during the week, and then also we're plugged into one of the local churches, a Thai church that we get our students plugged into as well.
So then the process for folks that are kind of maybe want to learn more, so where are the students coming from? Like, how do you actually connect with the people that you guys are, wanting to see be able to come out of that life?
So a lot of our students, I mean, as far as geographically, they come from quite a few different places in Thailand. Because of some certain rules in Thailand, we're only supposed to be helping Thai nationals.
Okay.
And so generally speaking, we only work with Thai people.
Okay.
That's not entirely true. Like, we have partner schools around the world too that work in different countries, where we can send other people to if we need them. And if in Thailand, if a person has a trafficking case that's open with the government, we can legally care for them as part of a government initiative to help. It's like a rehabilitation program through the government for trafficking survivors.
Okay. So then, like, in that process, and obviously I'm not sure what you guys can share or not, so obviously that's fine, what's okay to share. But as far as you just mentioned the government, how does it, like, I'm sure every country is probably different, but for Thailand, in your local context, what is the relationship between what you're doing and the relationship with the government? Is the government doing anything? How does that roll out with the government relations?
Well, we have to be a little careful, but Thailand honestly is, they're pretty low on the tip report for their government involvement and anti-trafficking efforts. But there are lots of other organizations on the ground as well that we partner with. We are really big on partnering with other organizations because you can't do it all yourself. No one organization can hit every aspect by themselves and make sure everything is taken care of. So we partner with like A21 and Not Abandoned. There's another organization called Tamar Center who are in Lyft. We partner with them. A few of those organizations are like investigative and rescue organizations where people are going out and collecting intel, finding trafficking rings, identifying victims. And then when they identify them, they are able to bring like a court case to the police. And then the police process it. And so that is how we get with the government cooperation. We have had a few students come that way. Usually they're internationally trafficked people. So their process ends up being pretty long and kind of complicated with all the government steps that they have to go through for their court procedures. But then the rest of our students, while they have definitely been abused and exploited and trafficked, it's really oftentimes very difficult to prove that in like court. And so most of those students are the people that we're meeting just out on the streets. Like we have a whole team that goes out to the brothels and bars a couple nights a week where they just build relationships with the men and women that are working out there and then offer them an opportunity to get out. If they would like to press legal action, we're happy to help them, guide them through that process and walk through it with them. But some of them, it's just as much as they just need to say, they need someone to tell them that they can do something else. Right. And we're there to hold their hand and say, you got this. Like, you can do it. Like, if you want to leave this, you can. Like, and we're here for you. So that's really the majority of our students are people that we've met in the community that are just really in need of opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah. Shear Love as a whole, maybe this is kind of going on to a different question.
No, just go for it, dude.
What she was saying about like encouraging and empowering people that they can do something different. A lot of the folks that we work with, a lot of the guys, the girls that we work with, they've never been educated in anything. They don't really feel like they've got something to call their own. They don't understand that they can do something more. They just feel like, okay, well, I have a body and I can do this, and I have to do something to support the family or whatever their situation looks like. But beyond making amazing barbers and cosmetologists, our school is just a springboard into their future as far as like, if you could convince them that, look, you were afraid to go to school because you never really finished your high school career or whatever it is, and now you could convince yourself, look, you made it all the way through this training, And you can be a barber if you want to, or you could go on to do something even more. Like you understand now that you can do school. You understand that you're smart enough and capable enough.
Right.
And now you can pursue more things. So it's kind of a springboard into just a better future in general.
So like kind of on that note, for each of you personally, because part of what I was hoping to capture is, the more people I talk to, especially about seeing themselves, whether they are overseas or even just being used at their home, maybe like in Fort Wayne, Indiana, right? Like how do I be involved in this? A lot of the conversations I've had, people will say things like, well, I'm just this, right? They don't see themselves as somebody who God has equipped to be used in whatever way. So for each of you in your own, like your personal kind of gift mixes and skill sets, what do you each do every day with Shear Love? Like in the way God's made you with your passions, I know you each do distinctly different things. So could you describe kind of what your roles are within the team? What do you spend your time doing?
So I'll go first.
Yeah.
I am the lead barber instructor for Shear Love in Thailand. And so my role basically looks like teaching hair for the most part, but that also includes doing a lot of mentoring with the guys and sitting in teaching the Bible and doing devotions with them and just generally doing life with them.
Okay.
I spend a lot of time with the guys outside of school and just like getting to know them better and encouraging them to live life a different way, because know just because they come in doesn't necessarily mean their lives change like that.
Right.
I try to keep a weathered eye on them to make sure they're not doing anything crazy.
Yeah.
But I want to be there their their big brother, their friend, but I also have to be their teacher and a place of authority, which means that if I feel like they've been if they're seeming a little spacey and they seem like that maybe they took some drugs or something, I'm like, okay, well, we're going to do a surprise drug test today.
Yeah.
So I got to be a little authoritarian on your guys.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But, we just want to make sure that they're, as per them coming into our program, we do have a lot of rules that, they're required to follow. And it's all for their safety and for their good at the end of the day. And I mean, it's nothing crazy like, we don't want to like nitpick their lives, but like, don't do drugs, abstain from having a relationship with the other students in the room with you.
Right. Okay.
You can't be going out and getting drunk every night. And so we have a breathalyzer, we have a bunch of drug tests and things like that. And we do use those all the time to make sure that they're clean. Okay. And that, like, again, I mean, I think most people understand that's for their good, not ours.
Right. Right.
But we also, as part of our program, we actually do give our students a salary. So we actually kind of they can kind of treat it as a job. They don't have to worry about going out to work, while they're in school necessarily. They should probably find a part-time job somewhere, maybe make some extra money for their family, depending on what their situation is. But, we want to make sure that they're really earning it, that they appreciate where they're coming from and what they're going into. And maybe they don't always understand it that way.
Okay.
Understandable, but yeah.
That's good. So Stephanie, what about for you? What kind of your days look like?
I think if you've worked in ministry, that like your job description is like there's so much more that is outside of the job description than what you actually do. But my main role is doing our administrative and financial work, which might sound confusing because I just told you earlier that I'm a pastry chef. So that's partly my encouragement to other people who might be hearing stuff like that is that, like, if God's calling you to do it and you've got the passion to do it, do it. Like, figure it out. I mean, I've learned almost everything I know from Google. So, but it's still like, it's still good. Like, I'm good with numbers. I was the kid that was bossy, but you should tell them you got leadership skills. So, like, my main role is I do a lot of keep everybody in line with our office work and our administrative stuff. I do our accounting, working on our tax forms. I do.
She gets all the fun work.
Oh yeah, all the really fun stuff. And then, of course, you get to do the fun stuff too, where the real fun stuff, where I'm like running errands through the city, which I enjoy, and I get to put creatively on some of our stuff too, on web design, our merchandise design. Yeah, things like that. It's kind of fun. And of course I get to, I am in a leadership position with our organization too. So I get to put out all the fun fires that happen with the drama of living overseas and working with traumatized students. But yeah, I like to do nails on the side. So I sometimes do Steffi nail classes with our students.
Got it. Okay. So
that's basically it.
So in that journey for both of you, what's it like, given what you're seeing every day, right? I was with you for a short time a couple summers ago, and I just got a glimpse. I've been a lot of places in the world, and where you serve every day was by far the darkest place I've ever been. I don't think I've been anywhere even close to that. So given that environment, obviously the Spirit's called you to this, but this is obviously heavy stuff, right? You're in the lives of people who are slaves. You're seeing the darkest of the dark. So for you in the journey the last number of years, what have been like the greatest joys you've experienced, like the things you've seen God do that are just those markers that you're like, okay, this is what we're in for? And then maybe if you don't mind sharing, what have been some of the hardships, or maybe some of the things we don't always get to hear about, maybe the hardest moments, when in those moments it would have just been easy to bail, right? You're like moments where you're like, it's done. What have been some of the high points and low points for you guys along the way?
Well, I mean, the high point is every time we see our students just get their lives completely turned around and like just wrecked by God, which happens frequently. Yeah, there's like some moments where, well, like for me, there was one a bunch of our students got baptized this year, which was amazing.
Wow.
But there was a moment this last year that really like stuck in my heart as like yes, this is why we're doing it. We did, A21 does an annual Walk for Freedom every year, which I'm not sure if anybody's familiar, but it's basically people all around the world get together and walk in a straight line holding signs that have like a lot of information about trafficking as like a really big awareness campaign. And it happens in like major cities all around the world. And in all the cities too that A21 has offices. A21 has a center in Pattaya, and so this year was the very first year that we did the Walk for Freedom, and it was really cool because all of our students were like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Like, I want to do that." Wow. And so we get out there, and everybody's getting ready. We got our signs. We're all wearing our T-shirts. Everybody's got the same shirt that said. Slavery still exists, I think, in Thai it says that. Okay. But we all you get in a line and you walk silently through the city, and our walk was starting right in the middle of the red light district and was going to walk all the way down the beach road where many women are many men and women are freelance prostituting, and then we were going to go down to Walking Street, which is like the big infamous road, and then turn and come back around. So while we're walking, it was just a great day in general. We had flyers too that we could hand out to people, and of course all the people that are standing out there either selling or buying are looking at us like, what the heck are these people doing? You know, everybody single file line in silent, and I'm watching our students, the girls, a few of them, you know, they had papers, but they were like running up to girls that they knew who were still working and giving them information and saying like, come on, you don't have to be here. But then one of the biggest moments is one of our staff members, he used to be a student with us. He was standing behind me. And we're walking, and we walked past this lady, and she just looked rough. And this is in the middle of the day, too. This was at like 3 p.m. Okay. She is just sitting out there looking really rough. And he just kind of quietly says to me, he's like, oh, it's so sad, you know? And I'm like, yeah, it really is. It is really sad. And I was like, how do you feel? And he's like, I'm okay. He's like, you know, this used to be my walk. He's like, I would walk up and down the street every night, all night long, looking for customers all night, just up and down, up and down. He goes, now, today though, this walk is for something different. Today it is a walk for freedom, and because I am free. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, whatever. And I'm like trying to hold it together, and I'm like, Now
I'm gonna start crying right now. Jeez, man.
I know, it was so powerful. And just this guy too, to see like where he's been and where he is now, is just like, that is a highlight altogether in itself. But that day specifically, like him just saying that to me, and then like we walked a little further down, and he started talking again, and he said, you know, there was a lot of times where I thought I want to just go back. It's just easier. He's like, but I couldn't do it. Yeah. And I'm like, no, you're way better. Like, you're worth so much more than that. I'm like, look at you now. Like, you're teaching, you're a barber, you're really good. You speak like perfect English. You're amazing. He's like, I just thank you for the opportunity. He's like, if it wasn't for you and if it wasn't for school, I would not have opportunity and I wouldn't be here.
Wow.
He's like, and I want to give opportunity to everyone else. And I'm just like, oh, okay.
No kidding.
But that was a super powerful moment for me of like a high of, yep, this is why we're here.
This is why we're here.
Even if he's the only one, this is why we're here. But he's not, which is the amazing part is we have so many more stories that are just like that. That are just as powerful and amazing.
Wow.
I would say a high for me, like a high point for me was, it's hard. I was just trying to choose one while she was speaking, but so this also comes from another couple of our staff members who used to be students. They graduated with us, and
that in itself is a highlight.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no kidding. Just to watch that whole process is pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah, they come in as students. We hear about their stories and see how their lives have changed, and then they come back and they start working with us, which is just amazing. Like, it's a gift because, once they're done, you're happy for them. You're ready for them to move on and find, start living their better life. But at the same time, it's like, I don't want you to go. Like, I've gotten to know you. I love you. I want to be with you for a little bit longer. And so we, selfishly, we had a couple of our students stay back, and they both became teachers and ended up getting married in the new building that we had just gotten that year, which was really awesome. And then I would say, what was it, a month ago now? She was born in
the beginning of November.
At the beginning of November, they had their first baby.
No way.
So, that to me, like, I don't know. I mean, there's just something about this baby that, like, not only was she like the cutest thing on earth, like, or she just, how sometimes fresh babies aren't always the cutest. This baby was an angel from the start. She's just perfect and cute. And they decided to name her, in Thai they named her Aiden, but that's the Thai word for, like, the Garden of Eden.
Wow.
And so, like a promised land, like a perfection. Like, and I don't know, like, seeing these two students who they had come in together, so they didn't meet each other in school. Right. But, seeing their lives move past where they were. Yeah. Having a beautiful little girl, daughter, and knowing that daughter is going to have a life that both her mom and her dad could never imagine.
That's so heavy.
That's beautiful. And, like, regardless of what our students have experienced in the past, like, we recognize that there's a lot that they've all gone through. But this baby has a different chance. Yeah. This baby's going to live a different life. And that to me is like it just brings a lot of light to what we do.
No kidding. What about for you guys? What have been some of the challengers, or like even just like for you on a personal level? Is there something that comes to mind as far as just the sorrow, or maybe ministry's hard, especially obviously where you guys are. What's it been like on that level?
So
honestly, 2019 was probably the hardest year, like, ever. There's just like a lot that happened and a lot of obstacles, and like in some ways I find it comforting knowing that Satan is like trying to stop us because he sees how amazing things are going. But it's incredibly frustrating. But there's been a lot of things, like whether it's between the students, but like this year we've had a lot of problems with our visas and immigration stuff that just comes with the territory of being overseas. It's been really frustrating and hard to work through. There's a lots of other stuff too, but like for me that's been a challenging thing. Like always on our toes, not knowing, okay, I'm trying to follow the law, trying to be compliant, trying to get the right paperwork together, and then it all costs a crap load of money too, of course. I'm sure. And you're trying to go. So, and then also just like culturally, it's kind of hard. Like, Thai culture is very different from American culture, and Thai culture is also very different from Kingdom culture. And that's honestly been, like, Diana and I were just talking about this the other day, but like that's been a hard one, is like trying to help build Kingdom culture inside of a foreign culture without like offending it or without like teaching it, because I think a lot of times people equate like Christian culture with like Western culture as well.
Yeah.
Which in some ways makes sense because most Western countries were founded on Christianity as like the primary religion. Whereas Thailand's founded on Buddhism as like their primary religion. And it really is like the culture, the government, the culture, and Buddhism is all very intertwined together. And
it's not as much of a religion as it is like a way of life.
Yeah, it's like a lifestyle, and it's part of everything, and it's in every part of their culture. And yeah, even with our Thai staff who are like solid Christians, like sometimes it gets really hard to like be like, no, but this is not how Jesus asks us to do things. Like, it's not, we're doing it the American way, we're not doing it the Thai way. Like, we need to do it the Jesus way. And honestly, that can be really challenging too.
I'm sure. Yeah. What about for you, Jamie? What have been sort of hard points along the way?
Well, like Steph said, I think 2019 has definitely been the hardest year so far for me personally, and I think as a couple as well. Like, it's just tough. I think for the last 5 months, 6 months maybe, I've been struggling with a really deep depression, and I didn't really see, like, I was ready to give up, to be honest with you. Like, I was ready to just pack it in and go home and give up. And, even though in my mind I couldn't imagine myself in my heart doing anything different because of, just how much value I see in what we do and how God has put us here for a specific reason. Like, I could see all these really great things about what we do, but I just could not get my mind out of this dark place of like, I'm done, I'm finished, I don't have the energy to keep moving on. As much as I love what we do, like, I just can't do it anymore. Like, I just felt trapped. And we ended up doing some counseling, getting some help and things like that. And that really helped out a lot. It helped me get out of that deep depression. But I mean, that's, a lot of people feel differently about depression. Some people think it's something that you can beat just by, having a different attitude. Some people believe it's something that, you make up in your mind, and they're, the real, I guess I would say like the medical aspect of it, like you can be medicated for it and things like that. And I definitely used to fall along the lines of like, I've seen depression in my own family. Like, I know it's a problem for real. And it's not something that you can just beat with positive vibes. You know what I mean?
Not like, just trust the Lord more, right? Here's the Bible verse for it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I understand that when people say stuff like that, they're coming from a good place. You know what I mean? And the truth is that, like, at least for me, that's just not how it worked, I tried everything, I exercised every day. I started eating healthy, like I was putting all the good things in my body. I was reading my Bible daily, but yet I was still in this deep, dark hole of depression that was trying to push me out of this ministry that was so meaningful, and it would have been devastating in a lot of ways. But it also put a lot of tension between Stephanie and I.
I'm sure.
Because her heart was still fully into it, and she wasn't struggling in the same way that I was.
Right.
So it's crazy how Satan snuck in there, put me in that dark spot, and it's been amazing seeing how God has been healing me through that process. So
man, thanks you guys for sharing. I think that's part of the stuff. The more people I talk to, obviously it's easy to sort of get the newsletter and the Christmas letter, and we hear like, oh, here's the great stuff you guys are doing, which is true, but you guys are also out there on the front lines. And so part of why I appreciate you guys sharing is whoever's going to hear this story and hear your story, like, I really want for them to be able to get even a little glimpse of the stuff that goes on, even if nothing else, to be praying, right? To be really, oh man, this is what it's like for somebody to be walking this out every day. And as you guys kind of share some of your story, and maybe even for a moment reflect back a bit as we sort of wrap up this conversation, if you were to look back on when you were like just in high school or just kind of starting out, or maybe even somebody, it's not the age, but the first time that the Lord really gripped your heart and you realized, oh man, this is what I want to be a part of. If you were to put yourself back there and get to speak to that person, like, what would you want to say to people that are maybe even a step before that? Maybe they're just like Stephanie, kind of like you said, just living life, going to church, doing the thing, living the good life. But now you've both obviously discovered there's something more than that. What would you want to say to folks that might just be kind of in that spot, just sort of living their lives? Like, what would be the word to them from you guys?
Well, I mean, we were pretty young when we got into it, so I mean, we're still pretty young, I guess. But I'm going to be 30 this coming year, so that feels crazy. But when we started, we were both. Well, I mean, she was almost a teenager, and I was just in my very early 20s.
Okay.
And but honestly, like, the thought that came to mind with that question was like, if my future self could have talked to my younger self, honestly, I would have been like, maybe I shouldn't do that, because knowing what I know now, the kind of heartache that you see day to day, I probably would have tripped myself out of not doing it, because we did it out of like a really naive, childlike sense of faith, which is good. And I mean,
I think Jesus said something about that too. So.
Right. Yeah. And I don't mean that as like a boastful thing or anything. It's just that the place in life that we were at, like, we were just kids, and we didn't really know a ton about what we were doing. We just know that we wanted to help and that we loved Jesus.
Right. Yeah. It's my first time out of the country, other than going to visit Jamie's family in England, and I moved to Thailand.
Yeah.
People don't typically do that. But
So, I mean, I don't know if I had that opportunity to get in that time machine and talk to myself, I'd probably, having the knowledge that I do now, I'd probably abstain from doing that and let myself go through that, because I think anything that we've been through, or everything that we've been through on this journey, has been meaningful to us in some way. Like, we've grown from it. And not to say that we shouldn't continue growing or anything, but I feel like I'm probably spiritually, like I'm like a 80-year-old at this point. Like, I have a 30-year-old body with a 80-year-old spirit and whatever else. I don't know. I've always kind of had an old soul anyway. But I'm glad things that shook out the way that they did. But as far as for people getting into it, like, things that they should be cautious of, sometimes it's about throwing caution to the wind, going in with a completely blank slate and just doing what you feel like God has asked you to do. Yeah. And, regardless of go where you have prayed about, go where you really feel like God has called you to. You don't just do something because you want to do it. Make sure it's a God thing, right? Right. But sometimes we got to just put the fear aside and say, look, I don't know what this journey looks like. I don't know what the hardships are going to look like. And you know what? I'm not even going to focus on that. I'm just going to focus on doing something good. Yeah. Or trying to do something good. Yeah. And eventually, I think God just honors that, and he does good through you, around you, and all that good stuff. Yeah. So
it's awesome.
I would say to people often, like, when we say what we do, they're like, oh my gosh, I could never do that. Like, I feel like that's something people say all the time. I could never do that. That's amazing. And I'm like, no, you could. Yeah. You really could. If this little tiny farm town girl from Indiana could go do it, you can go do it, And also, like, I think sometimes people think too hard about it. And, like, they go, well, what if this and what if that? And, like, what about this timing and this timing? And, like, just, like, they overthink their way out of sometimes, like, really amazing things that God has opened doors for. And, like, it's kind of funny because, like, I think back on our journey and, like, at the beginning, it's just really weird how quickly and easily God just pushed it all into place. Yeah. And, like, I think back now and I'm like, we were freaking crazy. Like, we just got married. We just went and sold all of our wedding gifts and moved to a foreign country that we'd never been to. Yeah. And, like, it's and knew nothing. And, like Jamie said, it was really like a childlike faith. But at the same time, like, there was so much peace over it. Yeah. And so much, like, no, this is what's happening. This is what God wants us to do. We're going to do it. Right. And we did have pushback from some other people because they're like, you are crazy, which understandably American culture would tell you that that's crazy. But like,
you have to be planned out for at least the next 30 years. If you don't have a retirement fund, blah, 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 what I mean?
What are your plans if you die overseas? I'm like, I don't know. I'll be dead. Yeah, honestly though, like, if like it's in your heart, like just do it. Like, just go for it, and you can do it. Like, that's my encouragement. You can do it. Like, if you're finding opportunities, it doesn't really matter who you are. Like, yes, you do need to have some sort of skill that you can contribute. You don't want to just like be floating around doing nothing. Right. But there are so many ways that God can use you, and I mean, the Bible asks us to do everything that we do for the glory of God. And, like, literally everything that you do, you can do for the glory of God. And there's no job too small, no job not important enough. Like, God uses all of it, and there's so many outlets and so many avenues for people to just serve, whether it's in their own home communities or out in the world. And don't be scared of it, because like, you can move overseas. It's really not that hard.
Yeah.
It's really not that hard. And like, also, if you're waiting for the right time's never going to come. So just like, just do it, you know?
Yeah, like, what's his name?
Yeah, like Shia LaBeouf with his, just do it! Yeah.
You guys are awesome, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, you guys, I'm just like really thankful for you doing this. It's incredible to hear your story. And I hope more people get to hear your stories. I think one of the things that my wife and I have been learning, right, Kirsten and I have been, the more people we engage with, it's like we learn so much about Jesus just hearing people's stories, like spending the time to actually listen and see the things that the Lord's doing with people. So thank you guys. I especially, I know you're not feeling well, so spending this time has been really precious. Real quick before we end, if folks want to find out about Shear Love, find out about Free Reign, I'll put everything in the show notes after we kind of wrap this up, but where would you encourage people to go? Like, where would be some places maybe online they could get started?
Go check out our Instagram. We're really funny, so you want to follow us.
I agree, that's true.
Stuff going on Instagram.
Yeah.
But also our websites, and they all link back to each other. We have 3 different websites. We've got freereign.int.org, shearloveinternational.org, and injusticeresponse.org. Okay. They're all our parts of Free Reign's projects, and they all link to each other, and there's lots of information about how you can get involved there.
That's awesome. Well, thanks, you guys. I really appreciate it. You're amazing.
Thanks, Luke.
Yeah,
It's good talking with you today.
All right. Peace and love, everybody. Have a good one.